Hey guys, I'm going to give you 7 A/B split testing examples to use in your email marketing here today. And I guarantee you this last one is something you haven't heard of before. So stay tuned and listen to it. All right, so let's jump in. My name is Jesse Navarro and I run a company called Cultivate Inbox. I've been managing emails for some time. I managed emails for Ty Lopez, Sam Ovens, and Consulting.com. I wrote emails for them. Also Pace Morby, Jamil Damji, the Triple Digit Flip guys, and several others as well. And really grown the business from as a copywriter to an email copywriter to really email deliverability and customer lifecycle. And so I've kind of settled into systems, actual understanding systems that work. And because of that, I've done so many different A/B split tests that it is completely unheard of. And different tests, I wrote it out, I have spreadsheets, everything works, and I'm gonna give you 7 of them right now that you may or may not have heard of, but this last one is gonna be one that's gonna be very, very interesting. So let's dive in. Number 1, this will be a very easy one, right? Just low softball subject lines. A/B split test subject lines. Now, when I A/B split test subject lines, what I like to do is A/B split test subject line hooks. So hook number 1 versus hook number 2. So I'll give you an example. Hook number 1 is, for example, based on ICP. So like an ICP would be like for an investor. And then I'll do another one based on an entrepreneur. So which one captures the most amount of attention? And then number 2, time of day of email. It's also really important. The time in the morning sense or the afternoon sense. Which one works the best? Ideally, I like to send 2 times, right? 2 times a day. I'm going to share with you a little bit how I send 2 times a day. By this next segmentation. This next segmentation is people engagement. It's an engagement segmentation. People who have opened up an email or has visited your site, some sort of engagement email within the past 30 days. So they have some sort of engagement with you. And so I send those out first thing in the morning. People 30 days or less, they get an email first thing in the morning. People who are over 30 days, usually I kind of limit after the 90-day mark, over 90 days, over 30 days, so 30 to 90 days, I email those people in the afternoon. They tend to be less engaged. And so here's a little pro tip too. If you're working on email deliverability, meaning you're finding a lot of your emails are going to spam, but you're doing all the things correct, right? You have DKIM set up, SPF set up, DMARC set up, right? You even have your BIMI set up. You have everything set up, everything's ready to go. Authentication is good, right? Your domain is not in any block list, right? You want to check that. And then, maybe you're not in any sort of spam, like Spam Assassin. So you go through and you check all that, everything's looking good, but for some reason, emails are still going to spam. There's also, Gmail, Google spam as well. They can mark you as spam as well. One thing, how do you get out of that? What would be at that point? We could have a whole nother conversation about what I do afterwards, but that's kind of what I do. The second one, so this goes into the second one, right? Is customers versus non-customers, right? Your customers ideally, right? If you have a good product, your customers ideally are going to have more engagement than your non-customers. And so that's another thing you can segment. You can segment customers versus non-customers. And then you can have your customers who open less than 30 days. You have your customers that open over 30 days. And then you can have your non-customers open less than 30 days, and your non-customers open over 30 days. And you're constantly communicating with both of them, right? And you're having ideally 2 different pieces of content, right? Because your customers are going to have different level of content. They're a hot audience, right? They know your product, they know who you are because they purchased from you, versus your warm audience, which is they've subscribed to your list, but they're not customers. So you're going to have 2 different types of copy for each one of those. The second one is email addresses. Email addresses is another one. So remember, there's 3 things that end up happening when emailing your most engaged audience frequently. When I mean frequently, I just mean more often. But how do you do that is because people who are open up your emails in less than 30 days tend to be the more engaged part of your audience. Since they're a more engaged part of your audience, you want to send them emails more often because you're going to tend to have higher open rates, more engagement coming out of them. And what's going to do is going to train companies like Gmail and Outlook and Yahoo that you are an actual legitimate company and who are sending legitimate emails to content to people who actually want to read your stuff. And so I would do that over the next 30 to 60 days, right? And slowly drip in the people who are in the, past 30 days, 60 days, up to 90 days. Once they're after 90 days, I tend to kind of cycle them out. I would look for deliverability. Number 1 is IP level. Number 2 is domain level. And number 3 is your inbox level or your email address. So if one email address isn't working, split test with another email address. So you have 2 different email addresses that you're sending from and split test them both. And then you can split test your main domain versus a subdomain. And is the main domain better or the subdomain better? I find typically the main domain is better, but you never know until you actually go through and split test it, right? And go through and figure out what's out there. So I'd split test those as well. And then on top of that, I would also do different domains. You could do domain number 1 versus domain number 2, right? And see which one of those is better as well. And so I'll give you an example of that one. Is one of them, we had really poor deliverability with one account, and that account in particular we tried everything. It didn't work. And then we decided, well, what if we just change domains? So we changed the domains, we changed the email, we changed everything, and guess what? Deliverability worked. Because we knew that he was in Spam Assassin, we knew that he was in some blacklist. So we were just like, we're kind of desperate at that point, right? We tried everything. And we found that changing the domain was what it was going to take. And sometimes it just goes down to that, just changing the darn domain. And so sometimes you have to do that. Now, the one that you may or may not have heard of is the links versus hyperlinks. Now, this is really interesting because I actually never even thought about this until I read an article on this a while back. And so hiding the link versus keeping the link open. Now, keep in mind, it depends on how you have the link set up, because some people wrap so much UTMs around their link that, having that link open would look kind of ugly. But who knows? Maybe that might help. And so that's something that you need to be able to investigate. If you hyperlink this thing versus not hyperlink this thing, what will happen? You don't know until you tell. And so what the test you would look for is engagement, click-through engagement. Will it increase my click-through rate? So that's the number one problem I have with a lot of people is you can get just decent open rates. You can even trick it to get decent open rates. But click-through rates are probably the biggest issue that comes up when it comes to that. So links versus hyperlinks. Now, a couple of things here that are also winning ideas as well, that almost made it to this list, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. So one of them is image versus non-image. What does it take if you put an image on there versus a non-image on there? And then the HTML of that image, like how much HTML versus non-HTML that you have inside the email. Do you send a simple plain text email, or do you have an HTML type email? And the HTML then is detected through companies like Gmail and Yahoo, and they want to know what type of HTML that you're sending out. And then also images and the number of images that you have as well. So you're sending 1 image, 2 image, 3 image. Ideally, you don't want to send any more than 2 images. I've tested this back and forth. I've even tested up to, adding a button on your email versus not having a button on your email. At that time I tested it, this was a couple years back, having a button on there ruined deliverability. I just haven't put buttons on since. So, that might be something I could test again, is having buttons versus non-button. Using words in words as well. And so I find the companies with the best domain authority, you could start using more kind of spammy words like free or gift, and you can get away with those kind of things. But if your domain isn't as much authority as like a big name company, I would avoid those altogether. But it wouldn't be hurt to try to see, all right, well, if I send something else that's free or gift or even event sometimes, does it go into spam? Does it go into promotion tab? Am I able to get away with it? Who knows? Again, you don't know until you try. So those are some A/B split tests that you could start today and get them going, and then give them a try. If you're sending the emails anyways, you might as well split test the darn thing. You might as well figure out what works and what doesn't work for your particular audience, and then figure out, and then you'll be able to improve engagement. You'll be able to improve open rates, and then obviously it'll lead to more money, more revenue coming in, assuming you're making offers into your email. That's a whole other thing, is email copy. I will go over that, maybe another topic, because that's a whole other piece of engagement piece that we could talk about. But anyways, I hope you guys like this. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and please comment. I'd love to hear more about you, and I'd love to hear more about what your journey is and how I can help you. Anyways, go ahead, like and subscribe below. I'd certainly love to chat with you, and we'll talk to you soon.